Finally, after all the speculation, the hype, and it being one of the most popular ships in the entire fandom, the episode is here. We were finally treated to the explosive dynamic of a duo who, despite being total opposites at first, turned out to have incredible on-screen chemistry. After all this time, the moment arrived. Pomni and Jax, better known as Funny Bunny, or as this episode called them, Team Bad Guys, finally became canon. But tragically, this seems to be the nail in the coffin for anyone who is still holding out hope. So what really happened? After everything that was built up from episode 4 onward, was it all for nothing? Was none of it real? Does all the development between them mean nothing anymore? Well, let me tell you, there's still a glimmer of hope, because while Jax is clearly the problem, we see that despite everything, he did want something with Pomni. And if we take a closer look at their final scene together, we'll realize that the spark for Pomni and Jax might still be there. There's still a chance. Chapter 1. How it began. If we focus on what we see in the show itself, their first normal interaction is in episode 4. We see a tired and exhausted Jax letting his usual jerk facade drop and showing a different side of himself to Pomni. He starts a simple conversation with a "how's it going?" which naturally strikes her as strange. This change is incredibly abrupt considering that 99% of the time, Jax is just joking around, making fun of everyone, or in her specific case, throwing her out of a truck. But this time, he was more peaceful than anything else. This carries through to the end of the episode, where he can be seen frowning even after their mission is over. After that comes a moment that sparks so many theories, not just about Jax's vulnerability and his past, but most notably about the closeness he seemed to be building with Pomni. Initially, it really seemed like Jax was interested in forming some kind of relationship with her. He started by dedicating an adventure to her where she was the complete center of attention. He paid great attention to detail, like noting the trust she and Kinger had built after episode 3, adding a note in all caps telling others not to bother her, and even pretending to be an over-the-top Australian just like the first AI friend Pomni had grown fond of. As strange as these details seem, they come off as kind of sweet in a way. This is on top of the moment where he told her to follow her heart or asked for her favorite color. Later, in another adventure where everyone is stargazing in a peaceful, quiet field, Jax begins to drop his cartoonish persona and opens up more. He speaks honestly with Pomni about what he thinks of the other members. When the sensitive topic of his old friend comes up, it takes him a moment to put his fake happiness back on, but despite this, Pomni smiles. She seems to understand that Jax's personality is a kind of defense mechanism. She's not stupid, she'd noticed his behavior before, but it was hard to figure out how he worked until now, when he himself decided to start taking those first steps. From that scene on, we mostly see their interactions at the bar, where Jax teases Pomni a bit to start a conversation about her past, and later apologizes in case the adventure he designed for her wasn't fun. Then, during the entire softball scene, despite several interruptions, the two are seen spending most of their time together in private, off camera. You could say that episode 5 was all about Jax taking a real step toward Pomni, building a better rapport, and getting along. On her part, the protagonist began to understand the one person she hadn't interacted with enough, the one who always put up walls when it came to showing his feelings. And I say that because we rarely see Pomni interacting with Zubul. Chapter 2. The Ascent. There was a lot of debate about their relationship after it was confirmed that, surprise, they were both part of a team called the Bad Guys. On one side, people argued it was Jax's manipulation. On the other, fans deduced that this was Pomni's true personality when she was having fun and not just being a little ball of stress. So, what was the real story? Well, the episode starts with them chatting normally, continuing the dynamic from the previous one. While we don't see the scenes directly, Jax mentioned he would show Pomni something in the hallway, and it hasn't been confirmed or denied what that was. It's clear that whether hours or days have passed, they are still on good terms. When the game's strategy shifts to a team-based firefight, neither of them initially thinks of teaming up. Jax chooses Gangle and Pomni goes straight to Ragatha, but for one reason or another, destiny ends up pairing them together, leading to them forming their own team. At first, Pomni doesn't want to be the one attacking her friends. It feels cruel because, after all, they're still people. However, Jax tells her not to worry, because none of what they're experiencing is real. Of course, this is hard for Pomni to grasp. While he has a point, the people she has to take down are still human. In response, Jax offers his perspective on things since arriving here. He emphasizes that he knows how she feels, because he used to think the same way. But the best thing you can do, knowing you're trapped here, is to give up your human life and embrace this new you, the cartoon archetype you're now wrapped in, just to make life more entertaining and worry-free. Jax chose to be the classic prankster who makes fun of others and breaks the fourth wall. He describes the others by their archetypes: Ragatha, the optimist; Gangle, the depressive; Zubul, the stubborn one; and Kinger, the nutty one. He ends with himself, then leaves it open for Pomni to decide what kind of character she wants to be. If she's hesitant, he tells her to just let go and live in the moment. After all, this is her new life, and that's better than living in anguish for the rest of their days. Though doubtful, Pomni realizes there might be some truth to what Jax is saying. Maybe just this once, she should stop worrying and just have fun. Let herself go, exaggerating her gesture persona. She transforms from just Pomni into Pomni the Evil. Yeah, it's not very creative, but it's enough to distinguish her from evil Pomni. With her doubts cast aside, she goes on a rampage. The two have a really great on-screen dynamic, acting like two beings who aren't afraid to lose and are just looking to have a good time. But despite the game, they still have moments where Pomni tries to get to know the real Jax, like when she asks about his fear of corn cobs from the previous episode. Although Jax dislikes sharing his secrets, this time he's honest with her, confessing that he hates their shape. This confirms that Jax seems to have a form of trypophobia that makes him uncomfortable around patterns like those on a corn cob. After taking out Kinger, they set their sights on Zubul and Gangel's team, who put up a good fight. However, when they corner Zubul in a room, the two start singing Daisy Bell as a duet just to annoy her. The fact that they're so well coordinated and seem to be enjoying the moment as a team further reinforces the bond forming between them. When Zubul manages to stun them and escape, Pomni becomes committed to the mission, reassuring her friend that she's got this. She successfully takes down Zubul, and they are declared the winners of the match. Chapter 3, The Descent. Hugs are a way of expressing uncontrollable joy after an amazing experience. That moment you realize that after all the effort, fun, and teamwork, you and your friend achieved what you thought was impossible. You won. An excited Pomni throws herself at Jax and hugs him happily. However, Jax is surprised, then visibly uncomfortable. He pushes her away. The jester looks at him, shocked, but then understands he wasn't ready for something so affectionate. They put it aside. It's fine. They just need to figure out which of them will win, Pomni thought, challenging Jax to a duel to the death to determine the ultimate winner. Jax doesn't seem to hear her. He's frozen, staring at his own hand before snapping out of it. He tells her there's no need for that. She should just shoot him and take the win. Pomni is baffled. That's not what she wanted. She wants them both to win as the team they are. But from here, everything goes downhill. Jax seems uncomfortable that Pomni is showing her sentimental side again. He just wants to get this over with and pretend that nothing they experienced or did ever happened. Pomni can't believe it. She knows what he's saying is just a defense mechanism because deep down he's not like that. She already figured him out. She saw how he reacted and how he hid himself. She knows he didn't go to Kaufmo's funeral out of fear, and she knows that even though he was closed off, he opened up to her and was honest about his fears and insecurities. Jax scoffs, even asking if she's confessing her feelings, remarking that the audience loves couples like them. For a moment, Jax seems affected, but just as his true self appears, the new him comes back to the surface. Everything shatters when Pomni pushes back, asking if he's ever considered that his jerk attitude might be the reason so many others have abstracted. Jax explodes, shouting that he had nothing to do with it and that she has no right to think that way about others because she never knew what happened or how hard it was for him to live with those who were gone. But what Jax really means is how hard it was for him to accept that they were gone. After that, Pomni asks Jax what he would do if he were to abstract tomorrow. He simply replies, "I'd move on," and says he would just forget her. Pomni turns away and answers with a sad tone that she understands. Jax looks affected, and this time it takes him longer to revert to his jerk persona, but it's too late. Pomni lunges at him and attacks relentlessly, begging him to hit back, but he refuses. He just throws her away from him. Jax never confesses why he didn't fight back, but he does say that, to him, everyone is just a toy. Toys he'll play with regardless of whether he makes him suffer or cry, because he doesn't care about anyone. But, of course, he doesn't even care about himself. The one he did care about is already lost. Now he just hides behind his own lie, his defense mechanism, pretending to hate everyone when all he really wants is for them to stay away. He only got close to Pomni to let her grow attached to him, just so he could shatter her hopes and make her hate him. But as much as Jax says he doesn't care, it hurts him to say it. It hurts to push her away. It hurts! It hurts to be this way, but he doesn't want to get hurt again if he loses Pomni. So he'd rather she hate him and not bother trying to find anything good in him. That human no longer exists. Even though Pomni has every right to despise him, she just looks at him with pity and sadness. It's as if, despite everything he said, she knows he's just a coward who struggles to show what he really feels. And despite how horribly he treated her in their final moments together, she still worries about him. On Jax's side, it's clear that saying such cruel things to Pomni affected him deeply. As he sits far away from everyone else, we see him looking extremely anxious, on the verge of tears, teetering on the edge of his sanity and almost abstracting. But it doesn't happen. He just sighs, looks at himself in the mirror, and speaks to himself. God, you look stupid. perhaps their relationship will never be the same. It was something beautiful where they both began to trust each other, but for obvious reasons, Jax chose to keep hurting himself and refused help from the one person who could have offered him a golden opportunity to pull him out of the abyss he prefers to stay in. He will be alone. On the other hand, even though Pomni called him out and things ended badly, it seems her door is still open if he ever needs her help. After all, that look of pity symbolizes that she still sees the wounded human inside that rabbit corrupted by pain. Jax isn't a good person and his actions are inexcusable, but it has to be said, he is suffering and he needs Pomni if he's to be saved.